Welcome to episode 2 of Photobatman's Terrain Cave. We're going to make a crater. As you can see here, it's got some vehicle bits in it. In this video series, my intention is to start with easy projects and work our way up, and not repeat skills that we learned in earlier videos. So as you can see here, we have a hardboard base. I'm not going to go over cutting it out and filing it. You can also use a cardboard base, which we covered a little bit in the, episode 1, and will be covered more in episode 3. I just don't want to go over and over and over things. Also, the supplies are covered in episode 1 also. So I take the hardboard base for the crater. You can cut out any shape you want for your base, as big or small. And I used a piece of tape, the roll of tape, or you could use a jar or whatever to give you just an indication of what you want the middle, the center of your crater, how big you want it to be, so you can build around it. Then we're going to use pieces of styrofoam to build up a ridge around the edge. Now, you could also use things like little bits of crumpled newspaper, just about anything that will that's kind of in the same shape as these pieces of styrofoam, or that you can kind of vary and make a kind of undulating ridge, a ridge with some variation in height in it, to give you that look like something's exploded there. And yeah, that's laid out right there. You can see that's what it will look like. Now we'll take glue and we'll glue these pieces on. If you were using newspaper crumpled up, you could probably skip this step and just go straight to the taping, which you'll see in a moment. If you were using some other items, then you just could get creative with it. I use styrofoam also because it's cheap. You can get it in a lot of electronics packages. It's basically you could get it for free. Now once it's dry, the pieces have dried from the gluing. Now we're going to use tape to form the ridge and the piling up of earth that's happened from the explosion. So you want to just take the tape and make a smooth kind of undulating ridge. So you vary it, just taping it to the pieces of styrofoam and to the base. Now we're going to speed up here. Just wrapping it around the edges is helpful. And you just do this in whatever way. Basically, you're creating a base with the tape. You're creating a base for gluing on the sand or flock or whatever you plan to use. I use sand because it's cheap. I can find it. A lot of times I can find it outside somewhere. I just run it through a screen of some sort and get out the bigger pieces of pebbles and other material, and then use the sand. So it's another inexpensive material. Probably the most expensive part of all of this is the hardboard, and again you can use cardboard. Just have to do a little prep. Tape the cardboard so it doesn't warp, because that tends to warp very badly with the wetness and moisture and the glue and paint. Okay, we're almost done here making the ridge. As you can see, it's starting to actually look like something. You could probably even paper mache something like this if you wanted to go through that. Tape I find just convenient. Now you have a nice base to start putting your glue on, and that will be the next step. We take the watered down glue, which we went over in episode 1. Just some watered down white glue. You spread it all around. Make sure, don't forget to put it in your little box top to catch the sand when you pour the sand over it. Keeps the mess to a minimum. I live in an apartment, so I don't have a garage or anything. I have to do this and contain my messes. If you can do it outside, then you don't even have to worry about that. So you just glue all of this, and then you pour over some pebbles. If you have pieces of sprue, here's some pieces of styrofoam broken off to look like stones or rubble. And then you add the sand. Okay, well, we'll do this a couple times. Dump it out once it's dry, and then paint over with glue again, the watered down glue, on the peaks where there's tape showing through, and anywhere you want to add additional terrain, rubble features, and then also around, like around some of that foam. I want to get it buried a little bit more, so I'll add a little bit more glue around it. Once you're done with that, we'll pour on the sand and let it dry, dump it off again, and start the process all over again. Now I dig out my vehicle sprue bag and take out my bits, and we use these for decorating up the crater, especially if you want a destroyed vehicle crater. I take the bits and I cut them up. Cutting them at the angle is nice because they're buried a little bit and look kittywampus in there. So that's good because it looks, you know, very random. So we'll put some glue down and some sand to cover them. So first we put the glue down. You can see I took a little pebble there and stuck it under there to make it lean a little bit. That could be helpful. Just keep adding the glue and the pieces, cutting a heavy bolter here in half with an X-Acto knife. You know, you can add as many of these little features as you want, or none. Sometimes you just don't want any of the vehicle rubble on there. That's fine. Either way, just keep adding glue, and what we'll do is once we've got the terrain features in there, or the vehicle pieces, we'll add some sand to bury them a little bit, and then let it dry. And then we'll start the painting process. Once it's all dried and ready to go, just take some black paint. Make sure you put down some newspaper. I again use an old brush. Some of this was covered in episode 1. Sometimes I add water to the brush because the paint goes on a little smoother that way. The reason I use a can of paint rather than spray paint is if you're using any foam, if you spray paint it, it will melt and cause toxic fumes. So just be careful of that. If you do decide to use spray paint, then just try to avoid using any foam on the outside. The taped down foam is fine, but any exposed foam will melt. Now we're painting it brown like we did in the first one. This is a kind of a wet dry brushing. I do a brown and I do an ochre color, and I don't fill it, I don't glob it on all over. I want variation. I want some dark recesses. I want some light parts on the tops of things. Now I add the tan color. You can see me dabbing it on the towel there, so it's not good, doesn't go on too thick. And once I've got the crater part, the base brown and earthen colors, then I go back sometimes and paint over the rocks if they got too covered up, and the vehicle bits. Paint them black. It's a nice base to work with. And then once I've got all those things painted black, all the little larger pebbles and stones, and then I go back and do gray. And I like to start with a darker gray, and I just keep adding some white, and I do much more dry brushing, so I dab a lot of it off, just so that you catch the very tips and tops. As you can see, like those rocks just punch right out there, those little pebbles. That's what you want. That's the effect that you want, is just brushing the top of it so that it makes them punch, but they still have dark recesses, and it gives them depth. And I don't worry about getting a little bit of gray on the brown. It ties it together and makes it just look like a piece, concrete dust or something of that effect, especially if this is a city fight crater. Now I'm going to go in and paint the vehicle bits. This is a really dark blue, so it's hard to see. And I'll do several layers of color. So this is the first layer of blue. Paint those up. I like to paint them in the colors of either my own vehicles, or sometimes what's fun is to paint them in the vehicle color of your most common enemy. So if you have a friend who plays, like I do, Ultramarines, then you can take the painted Ultramarines blue and harass them a little bit in some good-natured ribbing. You can even add a casualty on there if you wanted to. If you had some old models, bits that you weren't using, you could simply kind of make them look like they're laying over and maybe cut a little bit of them away so that they kind of sink into the ground a little bit, bury them a little bit. And it would be a nice addition to a crater or a rubble pile. Or, as you can see, I'm painting the blue here, and then that was pretty much it. You can put a little bit of metal, metal on the vehicle parts to make them look like they're scratched and so forth. You can see I have several different sizes of craters here, some with vehicle bits, some without. Put some models on here for size comparison. The one in the center here is the one we worked on. As you can see, it is lighter than the others. I'd probably go back and touch it up a little bit. There's one with some tires from a bike, Space Marine bike. We'll just make it look like a pile of rubble. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to watch our future episodes. We'll keep building on our skills. And we can also watch our battle reports on there. If you like this video, please click like so we continue to make them. Your comments and feedback are much appreciated, and any training projects you want to see, let us know. Thank you.